The art of analysis. You may or may not have noticed that I took a little breather from YouTube. I took a few weeks off for the first time in like 2 years. I was actually feeling like I didn't really want to do this anymore, and I think I just needed a break. Turns out burnout is like really real. Took a little breather, and as I was looking for different videos to watch, I got quite excited actually to watch some of these videos. Thank you so much to my channel members. I really appreciate your support. If you want to make sure your comment is seen by me, then please become a channel member. I do try to respond to as many comments as I can, but I always make sure to respond to channel member comments. So the video we're gonna watch today is called How to Analyze a Video Game's Design. And I thought this would be a good one to start with because I'm a gamer now, if you did not already know. I am aggravated. There will be some condensed VODs and some like, I don't know what the word, I'm still learning the words for all the things, but there's gonna be some of me gaming stuff on this channel as well, not just me watching stuff. And I hope you guys have a fun time watching the condensed versions of my streams because I think it's pretty funny editing it. I'm in a museum and I can't take the weapons in the museum. That's kind of stupid. As always, I really appreciate you guys just clicking on this video, suggesting anything you want to watch with me. Now you can suggest like, Hannah, I think you'll like this game, because that's new and different. But before we get into Game Maker's Toolkits video, I would like to remind you all that I am a self-published author. These are my books. Magic required and dominion required follow the story of a Celtic demigod trying to seek a redemption he is not sure he deserves. Blood, Kin, and Curses follows a newly turned vampire discovering a world she never knew existed while trying to avoid an ancient curse. They are all available as audiobooks, ebooks, and paperbacks. Thank you so much if you have read them. Thank you even more if you have reviewed them. And if you're just here to watch me watch this thing, let's get into it. I'm quite curious how to analyze a video game's design. I don't have the foggiest idea.
Okay, so during the development of Alien Isolation, the game had a pretty basic save system. It would automatically cache your data whenever you tripped invisible checkpoints, which were dotted throughout each level. It was added because it was easy to implement, simple to understand, and in truth, because that's how saving worked in pretty much every game. Design director Gary Napper said, like any development team, we all play a lot of games and each have our favorites. Often our decisions
so
and
far
choices
my favorite is The Last of Us, and my least favorite is Astro's Playroom.
As development went along, the team started to question if this save system was actually the right choice. You see, because players knew that if they died they'd only lose a couple minutes of progress, they would just waltz around the space station without a care in the world. Not ideal in a horror game.
Oh, that's totally me.
So while these checkpoints might have worked in Call of Duty and BioShock, Napper says it was not the right approach when making a game that is designed from its core to terrify.
That is so interesting.
Because here's the thing. It's
so it's
totally
like
fine
more
to take
stressful.
influence from other games. Many designers borrow mechanics from their favorite titles, often evolving, combining, and remixing them into something new. But it's essential to understand why those mechanics work in one game before copying and pasting them into yours. How do you do that? Well, I'm Mark Brown, and this is Game Maker's Toolkit.
Okay, Mark, please teach me some things.
Way back in 2004,
way back,
three game designers got together and wrote an academic paper featuring a framework that would prove to be perfect for analyzing mechanics in games. It's called MDA, and it breaks games down into three neat sections: mechanics, dynamics, and aesthetics. Mechanics describes the actual workings of the game, like the rules, the systems, what the buttons do, and all of the individual stats and numbers. For example, one mechanic could be the maximum amount of ammo the player can hold, and we could set that number really high.
Yo,
It's
not high in The Last of Us.
Acts and behaves in response to those mechanics. So because the player has tons of ammo, they may storm into battle and shoot wildly in the general direction of every enemy they spot. And finally, aesthetics, not to be confused with the graphics or the art style. Here, aesthetics is how the player feels when acting in that way. Their emotional response.
Because I was always full. Apparently, I'm full.
Shooting could make you feel reckless, powerful, unstoppable, basically like this.
Rambo. Yeah.
To put it another way, mechanics happen in the code, dynamics happen in the player's actions, and aesthetics happen in the player's feelings.
Okay,
Now,
interesting.
unfortunately, game designers can't just go inside the player's head and directly alter their actions or feelings, but they can
Facts.
change the code. And because MDA describes a causal relationship, these changes will cascade down and alter the dynamics and aesthetics. For example, if we tweak that knob the other way and massively limit the player's ammo stash, that's definitely going to change the player's behavior. Now they will act cautiously before heading into battle, or might not engage enemies at all.
Really fucking excited
Every
about
shot
finding
fired will be done
tape. I need tape. Tape! Yes!
with careful consideration, and more time will be spent hunting for ammo in the environment. And this will lead to completely different aesthetics, like disempowerment, fear, and caution. So this
Annoyance.
MDA framework takes mechanics and then puts them into a wider context, which asks, how do they make the player act, and how do they make the player feel?
That's so
and we can
interesting.
use these questions to analyze the mechanics in the games we play. Like, we could ask, why does swords break in Zelda Breath of the Wild? Well, how does that change player behavior? Maybe players will rely less on direct attacks and so spend more time sneaking past enemies or finding creative ways to ambush foes. It will certainly encourage players to use different weapons and constantly seek out new ones. It can also lead to exciting moments of drama in the middle of a fight. So far, I've used dynamics to refer to player actions, but dynamics can also be used to describe consequences that might bubble out of the game's systems. So, how does that feel? Well, it could make you feel underpowered, it could make you feel crafty and creative, and it will likely make you feel like an explorer in a world that's decaying and falling apart. If there's one hard part of this analysis process, it can be putting words to the subconscious feelings that arise when playing games.
Right.
We're looking for way more than just, this game was fun. We're looking for strong, emotive feelings like, this
that's
game
God
made me
of War,
feel
right?
powerful, creative, sneaky, tense, intimidated, curious, deceitful, cooperative, flustered.
I wonder, I haven't really thought about
So
what did The Last of
MBA
Us
lets
make
us
me
see
feel.
game
The
mechanics
Last of
as
Us
powerful
2 made me
vessels
feel
for
very
delivering
annoyed.
emotions to players. And so when borrowing mechanics from other games, or making entirely new ones, you can pick ones with associated dynamics and aesthetics that will complement the rest of your design, and avoid ones that will clash. For instance, designer Genova Chen says that the game Flower once had a level-up system, spells you could cast, resource management, and time limitations, expected features of other video games, but they all had to go because they went against the intended emotions of relaxation, calm, and peace. Chen says we've played so many games growing up, these bad habits form. A lot of the time we like to make things very fun, but fun doesn't always help the emotion you want to deliver. That's why it's essential to truly understand your game's vision, the overarching feeling or experience.
Yeah,
you want to
so there were some times when I was playing The Last of Us and The Last of Us 2 where I felt like I was so, and I'm sure this is normal, but it was new for me, right? That I was like so angry, and then I killed whoever, the person, the monster, the mushroom, whatever, in the way that like I wanted to defeat them. What a rush! Wow! Loved it! Loved it!
give the player. Because if you know you want to make the player feel, say, scared, then you know you'll want to pick mechanics that induce feelings of fear, dread, isolation, and disempowerment.
Oh, creepy.
That vision
God.
could be a single statement. Subnautica was based around the phrase thrill of the unknown, and every mechanic had to suit this idea.
Oh my God, this is Subnautica
Resident
that
Evil
made me,
Village
like,
was
a
built
little
under the
dizzy.
banner of struggle to survive, and so when playtesters hated the game's messy combat, the designers could use that phrase as, like, a lodestar to rebalance and rethink the game's mechanics. The vision could also be a fantasy that you're trying to deliver. Perhaps you want the player to feel like Batman, or an assassin, or a world leader. It could be a feeling, like how Flower tried to make you feel relaxed.
I will
Or
hate
it could
any
be a
relaxation
specific
game, I'm sure.
experience. When making FTL, the devs said their starting point was we wanted to recreate the atmosphere of commanding a starship. With a strong vision in mind, it becomes easier to evaluate whether game mechanics are the right choice for the game you're making. And of course, it goes beyond game mechanics. All the other elements in the game, like visual style, music, animation, story,
Yeah,
colour,
not even just
camera
music,
framing,
like the
and so on.
sound.
Those all create aesthetics too, just without the dynamics bit. For example, Dead Space composer Jason Graves said that EA originally requested a predictable sci-fi soundtrack for the game, full of electronics and drums. After we did that first little piece of gameplay, says Graves, EA came back and said that it wasn't scary enough. The music made players feel heroic, and they wanted them to feel scared. And ultimately, I think games are most clear and coherent when absolutely everything is pointing in the same direction. Genova Chen says all the elements have to sing the same notes to make the impact strong.
That's so
Perhaps
interesting.
the best example of this, for me, is Doom from 2016.
Yo,
It
low
also
key,
had
I
a
want
strong
to play this
vision
one. I
statement.
thought I wouldn't want to
In
play
this
it.
case,
I want to play it.
push forward combat.
Ooh.
And
Ooh.
pretty much everything in the
Ooh.
game
Ooh.
supports this statement. You can see it in the game mechanics, from the rapid movement speed to the way you pounce on enemies to get health, to the way certain demons are told to run away from. Every feature pushes you to race towards enemies like an unstoppable predator.
Yeah.
And that's supported by the non-game elements, like the heavy metal soundtrack, the violent animations, and the Doomslayer's visual design and personality. Of course, none of this is as easy as I'm
Mass
making it
Effect is
sound,
next, though.
and there are so many other considerations to make when designing a game. For starters, a game isn't just one mechanic, but hundreds, perhaps thousands, if you want to go super granular. My interactive video essay, Platformer Toolkit, shows how a single character can be defined by dozens of distinct stats, which could change the game from feeling like Inside to feeling like Super Meat Boy. And these mechanics interact, overlap, and can even undermine each other. In the Callisto protocol, you have very limited ammo, which is intended to make the player feel underpowered and fearful. But you also have a one-button insta-kill stealth attack with a slick animation, which can make you feel powerful.
Oh! I want to do that
one!
I wish I could shiv all the time.
You can make best guesses about how a player will act in response to a mechanic. You can't know for sure until you do a lot of playtesting. Players might misunderstand, or ignore a mechanic, or do something completely unexpected. Sometimes that's a fun, emergent behaviour, like the flying cars in Rocket League, which suited the vision just fine, and so could be kept in the game. But at other times, it can create degenerate strategies that undermine your emotional goals. Going back to Alien Isolation, the automatic checkpoints meant that if you got jumped by the xenomorph, a smart strategy was to just beeline it towards the next checkpoint, get killed, and respawn in safety. Furthermore, sometimes you want to have different emotions at different times in the game, and so we'll need to change the mechanics accordingly. If the story depicts a character who starts out weak and naive, but ends the game feeling competent
People
and
told me to
powerful,
play that too.
how could you reflect that growth
I think, maybe?
in the game mechanics?
I don't know.
And finally, and perhaps most importantly, aesthetics are ultimately subjective.
Yes.
A scoring system might make one player feel competitive and eager to replay every level, but it could make another player feel judged and eager to get a Steam refund. Time pressure might feel fun and exhilarating to one person, but anxiety-inducing to another.
Anxiety-inducing.
And this is often related to skill and ability. Take the new Tango game,
It's a skill
Hi-Fi
issue.
Rush. It clearly wants you to feel like a rock star as you brawl along to the beat. But as someone with zero musical ability, I just felt like a bumbling idiot. At the end, I'll recommend a video about balancing a fantasy with differing player skills.
Interesting.
So, going back to Alien Isolation, the team eventually tried a different save system, something closer to older games. Now, the game features a small number of save points that you have to operate manually. And to make things worse, it takes a while for the save point to turn on and for your game to actually save, giving the alien a chance to sneak up
and kill you.
And this new mechanic changed everything, completely altering the player's behaviors and emotions. We were afraid, says Napa. If we didn't make it to the save point and successfully save, we would lose our progress. Saving became tense.
Oh my God.
Looking for a save
I would be
became
looking
tense.
all the
The
time.
simple act of saving had become supportive to the game's driving factors of terror and isolation. So it's fine to borrow game mechanics, but you need to understand why they work. MDA is a powerful tool for this because it helps us to predict how a game mechanic will make players act and how that will make players feel.
Interesting.
If those feelings complement the vision for your game, then awesome. If they clash, then they probably need to go. because when it comes to picking, pinching, or producing game mechanics, you should listen to Shovel Knight studio Yacht Club Games, who says it depends on the game you are trying to create, the emotions you're trying to evoke, and the experience you want your players.
So I guess you start with the what do I want them to feel? Okay, what do they have to do to feel this way?
This video was originally given as a lecture at universities in London, Breda, Buden, and Skellefteå. If you'd like me to visit your school, please get in touch. You can find my email in YouTube's About section.
Cool.
I'm also going to GDC next month, so if you see me, say hi.
Hi.
For now though, click here to watch a video about delivering a specific fantasy to players of different abilities.
That is interesting. I will click there and I will watch it later, but not right now. I'll post this one in a couple weeks, but that is really interesting. What was I saying? Yeah, thinking about how do I want this person to feel? What do I have to do to make them feel that way? What do I have to put in place to make them do that thing that will make them feel that way is really interesting, and really I can see how that relates to writing. You know, what do I want the reader to feel? What does the character have to do to make the reader feel this thing? What system has to be in place in the world to force the character to realistically do the thing that will make the reader feel what I want them to feel? It's very, very interesting. That was cool. I liked that a lot. That was Game Maker's Toolkit. Gold star, thank you. I think this was one of the videos recommended to me by Forrest. Thank you so much, Forrest. Thank you also to my channel members. I really appreciate you guys so much. Also to anybody who's been watching me on Twitch, I am going to be posting a new schedule. I'm gonna try and keep my schedule pretty consistent now that I'm back in school, so it should be on Twitch. Hannah's invested over there as well. Again, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope you guys are all happy and healthy, taking care of yourselves and each other. And as always, until next time, may the Force be with you. Live long and prosper, and I'll be back.